I think actually I'll pass this off to Mitch because Mitch, this was your idea. So
You can check my stuff out on Freeze Frame Rate, and the reason why I bring this up is because I did a video
my God, what
about.
a shameless.
I know, shill, like plugs all day. Look at this guy. He comes on here and he's talking shit. No, I'm joking. Go on. What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 4 of our Coffee and Beer Fueled General Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Vin Hill, and joining me as always is, of course, my co-host from the opposite time zone, Mr. Evan Piotrowski.
Hello.
And joining us again after 2 weeks of a long delay. We've been joined by our previous two guests as well from, half of the Beerumverate, I guess. We got Burkoff.
What's going on? It's been a while, man.
Yeah, it has. Have
been
you showered
exactly
since
2 weeks.
Have you showered since we?
I have
last
not. It's been 2 weeks. Just haven't showered. I've been waiting for this moment.
I can smell you through the microphone.
Dedicated to the art.
Indeed. And how about you, Mitch? How are you going?
I can't believe 2 weeks has gone by. It literally felt like about 5 minutes.
Okay, like we're joking about this, but obviously, like we are filming. We're recording 2 episodes in a row. So this is actually from a couple of weeks ago. So like genuinely, none of us have showered since the last episode. So enjoy the smells.
Scratch and sniff.
Yeah. So it's around. Dude, that's disgusting. It's like now that's all I'm going to have in my head. Anyway, it's July 27th, or it will be when this is around going out, 2019. And today we're going to be talking about adaptations and where we want them to go, sort of thing. But first, Evan, what have you been playing?
I have recently wrapped up Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, God. Got some things to say, I assume.
Yeah, so I fucking love the first 2 games. Tomb Raider was a 2015 maybe, and then Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I also loved. I didn't platinum any of those games, but I 100%ed them, which means you collected all the bullshit relics and documents and challenges and tombs and all that type of stuff. Don't play this game. Do not play it.
Really? Is it that bad?
I think it's just a huge miss in a lot of regards. So, man, like, where do I start? I got like 5 minutes. So basically, the first one, you're shipwrecked on an island in the Pacific, and there's this mystery surrounding this kind of sun goddess that all the other shipwrecked people have been worshipping. The second game, I forgot. I should have researched what the hell the second game was about. It was really good. It was good. It was a solid fucking story.
Tombs, and you're raiding them.
You did a bit of raiding, did a bit of tombing, maybe at the same time. I'm not quite sure. So this game finds you in Mexico and then Peru, and it's about like the apocalypse, kind of revolving around an eclipse. And so you get to learn a bit about the Mayans, the Incans, yeah, man. Like, so the first game was on this kind of Pacific island. The second game was like in the snow, and this game is in the jungle.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm kind of looking at this game. I'm like, fucking Uncharted does everything better.
Yeah.
One thing I liked
Except
about
for the shooting.
Well, yeah, one person out of in the history of humankind has said that, being Mr. Burkoff. Yeah. So, funnily you say that. This game, so Vin, you've played 1.5 of these games, right?
Yeah, I guess. I played the first one. Really, really liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a nice little sort of companion piece to the Uncharted series. And that's the problem with these games, I guess. Like, they're always going to be in the shadow of Naughty Dog in that respect. Because it's just the nature of the thing, which is super ironic and funny, considering that Uncharted is basically a Tomb Raider clone, for like the old Tomb Raider, and now they're copying off each other, sort of thing.
They've taken things between the games, which is quite funny.
They're just passing the baton back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I got mostly through the second game, and I fell off because the game was getting a bit too handholdy for me, which is ironic because I really like Uncharted and that's super handholdy as well. Like, I'm a hypocrite.
Vin, you'll be happy to hear in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this game, there's a part where they tell you how to look up and press X to jump to a hanging ledge. And at the very end of the game, probably 5 minutes before you fight the final boss, they give you the exact same tutorial.
Nice.
30,
I like it when
30 hours in between those two.
It keeps you on your toes.
Yep. Yeah. Lest you forget the mechanics that you've been using the entirety of the game.
All right. So let's dive in. Like, why do you not like this one compared to the other two?
You ever play a game where it's not open world, but like there's kind of an open space and there's several like paths to go down?
Mm-hmm.
But
it's kind of like a Lost Legacy, I guess. Uncharted,
right, but instead of getting lost in that world, you kind of feel like you're in a circle with assets plopped down with just obvious paths to go down. It doesn't have the verticality of, say, the opening area when your plane crashes in the first Tomb Raider game, where you're shooting the rope arrow to climb to higher ground or lower ground, or like there's all those stranded people on the island in the first game, and they've built this kind of like city out of like shitty like rusted corrugated iron, like a shanty town, and you get plopped in there and you have to like this gun battle. Or I don't really want to give anything away from the second game, but there's this kind of like ancient town that's very late in the game, where you have this giant battle with these catapults. There's nothing really like that in this game. So
it's like a problem with the game design itself, then, like the level design and how you maneuver around.
Yeah, level design is not that good. It's just like after a while, the jungle just looks the same. It just looks the same.
Right.
Stealth is bad. There's not. They've focused more. They've completely like taken out. Like I would say like fighting in this game is like 30% of the game. And they want you to stealth because, if you click in the sticks, you can like highlight like, it's like the Assassin's Creed or the Witcher.
Right, the hunter vision,
yeah.
Like in all the other games.
So, let's just say in the first game, there were specific sections where they'd plop you down, and like in the corrugated kind of iron shanty town, they plop you down, and after the cinematic, guys start flanking you, and you're hiding behind like a chest-high wall. It's like, okay, this area is specifically a shooting section. In this game, after the cinematics, they'll start you off hiding in a bush. So clearly what they want you to do is stealth the area. But the stealth is bad. The AI is so unpredictable that you end up being caught, and like taking out everyone from behind a crate is possible. Like one time I hid behind a wall, killed a guy, but he stuck out enough so that like a guy noticed him, came next to check on that guy. I killed him. The next guy noticed that guy, came and checked him. So they open this world up to you, kind of put down assets for you to hide in the bushes, but you don't have to use any of it. And it's just like the whole area is wasted. I've never used an entire area, whereas like they have all this shit like planted around the area that you're supposed to, ideally they want you to run around from place to place and use everything in your tool set and like blow up the explosive barrels and stuff. You don't have to do any of that stuff.
Right. So it feels pretty mindless in that respect.
Yeah, it's just like we're super inconsistent. And another thing is like, so they've moved away from the action, and it's mostly just traversal. And of course you have the tombs. The tombs are okay. I enjoyed them. Not as good as the other two games. Short but sweet, I guess is the way to call it, to describe them. But they have these set piece moments. The Uncharted moments, like running towards the camera because the tank is chasing you, or like several buildings are falling into each other and you're constantly swinging from place to place just as you're about to die. They have these sections. There's like a mudslide set piece. There's another set piece in the water. There's another set piece with buildings falling. But the platforming is super inconsistent. I kid you not. There's a mudslide section where everything's moving, and so like things start lining up. It's like, okay, obviously like I'm supposed to go over this, jump on a light pole, swing to the light pole, and get down to the ground below me. I missed that light pole. I'm not kidding you. I missed that light pole at least 15 times. So It got to the point where like,
that's pretty bad.
Am I doing something wrong? Am I missing a mechanic here? And it's like, no. In the 16th or 17th time, I swung on the light pole. And so I don't know what it is. There's times where you like jump and you have to use your kind of like your rock climbing axe that's tied to a rope to like catch onto a wall and swing, and you just miss it. It's
right. I mean, it's a shame because like a lot of people are sort of like grown attached to like the new Tomb Raider series, I guess, like the last 3 games, I guess. But you know, it sounds like it's a pretty big downgrade.
I actually disagree with you. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, I don't think it's an amazing game, but I kind of have a counter to everything you're saying. So, with the whole jumping mechanic, that happened in 2 with me constantly. So like I think it just happens in general with that game, the way that the animation is, the way it's built. Like I've missed a part where I had to jump and use the climbing axe with the rope to go get across in the second game. So
Right.
I think it's similar in that aspect. And then when you talked about the stealthy mechanics, I mean, yes, they don't hop you into an area where you instantly are going into fighting, but there are many set piece moments where they put you where you start with stealth, but then there's no way to stealth the entire map because then enemies start coming in and then you have to fight them. So it's like giving you a mix of both. So
like it's so few and far between. Like I found like and most of those fights are over so quickly. And that's like one of the favorite parts about that game, to break up the traversal, is like pull out your gun and kill people.
Yeah, I think they're pushing more the
people.
Survival aspect of it in this one than they do.
That doesn't even work very well.
I agree with you 100%. And I think this one is not the best one of the 3. I still enjoyed this one, but obviously not as much as I enjoyed the first 2. And you can definitely tell it's made by a different studio. It's made by Montreal compared to being made by Square Enix. I'm not Square Enix. I'm sorry. Eidos. Who else made it? Crystal Dynamics didn't make this. Thank you. It didn't make this one, and you can really tell they didn't because it feels so different than the other games in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
One question I do have, like putting your disagreement sort of like on either side of the fence sort of thing. One thing which hasn't been mentioned, and the only thing I really care about when it comes to like Tomb Raider games is, do you actually raid any tombs? Like, is there any sections where you're just in a tomb by yourself, puzzle mechanics, figuring out shit through action adventure things? And is there more of it than the previous?
Same as the second one, I'd say, Mitch.
Yeah, I'd say about same.
Okay.
They're not as good though. I don't think they're as good as the second one. There's some neat puzzles, but they're not that great. I don't think they're over before you get there.
What I think they do a good job, at least in. I would say, yes, they're not as interesting as the ones in the second one, but what I do think they do really well in this one is match it up better to the actual culture that they're in. So like, because you're in Mayan, they're big on traps. And so you just have to be careful when you're exploring the tomb that you're going to run into type of traps in entranceways. And so I think what they do really well in that aspect of the tomb itself is the matching the culture with how the trap would really be in that time period.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because this is the thing, like whenever someone talks about a Tomb Raider game, it's always like, oh, the gunplay is this. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, we're talking about gunplay and survival mechanics in a fucking Tomb Raider game. Like, this is crazy to me. You know, it's all about like this, the exploring and getting through a tomb and trying to figure out like through puzzle. And that's why I like Uncharted. Like the gunplay in Uncharted is awful. Like, it's not good. Like, it's fun and it's serviceable, but it's not great. And the only reason why everyone loves them games, including myself, is the exploration.
And if I can sum it up in a nutshell for this game, to be honest, is I felt like they ran out of ideas of what they wanted to do next for the game, because the story feels like it falls pretty flat compared to the other ones.
Dude,
like it feels like it's not needed. Like I was like, what do you guys are out of ideas to what to do for the story? And then it just falls through with all the other mechanics. And so that's why I think it's the worst of the 3. I think you should still play it. It's still decently fun and to play. If you can get at a discount, not $60, like $20.
Dude, I paid $18 and I feel like I was ripped off. Like
well, you get everything at a discount. You're like the cheap bargain man.
I am super cheap bargain, dude. There's an eclipse in the logo. They never mention it. It happens at the end of the game. I have no idea what's going on. The last boss sucks. Dude, fuck. Do not play this. Oh, okay, Mitch, I get where you're coming from. I guess if you like these games, play it. But if you're on like so-so on the last 2 games, then don't play this one.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think
absolutely. Yeah. If you enjoyed the last 2, you should definitely play this one so you kind of know what's going on, because it does set up something that maybe it could end, but it could bring it back again.
Yeah.
I did like that part.
Yeah.
I want a Tomb Raider game with nothing but puzzles and platforming.
Amen, brother. I'm with
you're
you.
right. You're right.
Just make that. Like, get rid of her fucking homicidally murdering everybody. We don't need it. That's not the most interesting aspect of these.
Yeah,
games.
just have her homicidally kill animals constantly.
Yeah, I'm down with that. Give me a bear.
That's a little bit better.
She goes to this poor town, and I go underwater, and I just find this massive like
hoard of treasure, and then she goes back to her mansion.
All this treasure like sticking out of and I pick out this gold and put it in my bag, and I don't give it to anyone. It's like she's
the
super
worst.
rich.
Yeah, she's the worst archaeologist in human history.
Oh, my favorite quote that you did when you did on Twitter was the fact that she does not speak Spanish to the Spanish-speaking people. Like, she's supposed to know this stuff.
She doesn't speak Spanish once in that entire game, but everyone speaks Spanish to her, and she understands it, and they understand her. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, it's hilarious.
But so yeah, it's a disappointing end to this trilogy. I absolutely loved the first 2 games, and I walked away from this game being severely disappointed. I deleted it the second the credits rolled, and Vin, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing a little game which got reviewed really well. It was Resident Evil 2, the remake. So I blasted through that.
Ooh.
Mitch is excited.
I got to hear what you say about this. We talked about this on the Beerumverate a couple episodes ago.
Well, I missed that one, I guess. But I mean, it's a remake of the second game. It got really well received. The game looks fucking gorgeous, I have to say. Like, I was not expecting Capcom to pull it out of the hat like they have. But they nailed it. Like, the way stuff looks, the animations and stuff, the way the zombies move, like, way creepy. Like, I just didn't think like a Resident Evil 2 remake was really in the cards, sort of thing. Like, when they announced that they were going to do it, I was sort of like, how's that going to work? You know, like, I don't know. It's kind of got a lot of baggage and stuff, like, really, like, a lot of melodrama that comes with that series and just ridiculousness. And
how are they going to do it?
Right.
Are they going to do like set angles? They're going to go over the shoulder like Resident Evil? Like, we didn't really know what were
until we saw the first sort of gameplay trailer from it, it was just like, this could either be really good or really, really bad. And it turned out pretty decent. Like, I have to give them credit, like, where credit is due. Game looks amazing. They've definitely brought it up to the modern systems, but it does come with some baggage. It comes with the baggage of the original, unfortunately. And it's a very, like, 90s sort of design aspect of that. So, like, just weird stuff that comes along with it. Like, some characters, like the character of Ada is running around in a dress and high heels, but she's killing zombies. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is she wearing a dress and heels? Like, why wouldn't she be in, like, combat? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of that, like, sort of wonky stuff, and it feels like a 90s game made in 2019, and it is, obviously. But the main problem which I have, really, it is a great game. Really enjoyed it. Didn't realize, like, how short them games were, and I was like, man, this one was really short. And then I went and looked at the runtime of the original. I was like, oh, it's about the same, actually. Never mind. And it sort of brings it to the modern sort of, like, perception of what we think a long game is nowadays, and it's sort of, that's a really interesting conversation in and of itself. Like, thinking that you can finish Resident Evil 2 in, like, 5 hours or something. It's super, super short, I guess. But to the modern standards, like, 5 hours. Do you remember the outrage for The Order 1886? It's
oh yeah,
a 6 hour game. What is this? It's like, well, that's totally normal. What are you talking about? But the main problem which I had was actually, like, the outset of the game, like, the way it opened, like, that really annoyed me in the respect, because in the original Resident Evil 2, you were in that, like, where the truck crashed into you, and you and Clara sort of separated, and you play as Leon.
Yeah.
And you've got to make your way to the police station, and then you get to the police station, there's all these puzzles in there, and you're trying to get down to the facility, and et cetera, et cetera. I won't spoil it for people that are wanting to play it. But in the remake, they cut that out. Like, the whole part where you're going from the crash to the police station, they've made it super short, and it happens really, really quick, and you're in the police station within, like, 5 minutes almost. And it's like that was the best part of the original for me, because it sort of set the scale and the tone of the game. Like you're going through all these back alley streets and trying to get to the police station, and you.
Yeah, but do you think that's because of the change in mechanics?
Probably. I think it's probably a multitude of things. I think it's like they probably only had a set amount of time when they announced this game. The team probably wasn't that big, and they didn't have the resources to make a fucking city, because like they've remade the game. Like it's in 3D. Like that opening scene in Resident Evil 2 when you go into the gun store, and it's like. And that guy's in there. It's like that is one of the most memorable moments.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but have you finished the game?
Yeah, I finished Leon's story. I haven't finished Claire's.
Okay, so
and I know that guy shows up later on in a weird little way.
And also some you'll see in Claire's, they do some throwbacks to the more beginning stuff that you didn't do in a similar section. So you might change your mind a bit after experience. Claire's.
No, I understand that, but I mean, just like for me, because what they say is like you have to be really sort of perceptive. Like in the first 15 minutes of like a movie, like you're sort of you'll literally believe anything. Like, okay, like where is this movie taking me, sort of thing. And games are sort of the same thing for like the first hour. Like when you're in a game, it's like, all right, what is the scale? What is the tone? What is the feeling of this game? Like, what am I doing in this? And it's taking that away sort of hurts the remake in that respect. Like if someone hasn't played the original Resident Evil 2, like they don't get a sense of how big the game is, sort of thing, like in terms of lore and stuff. And when they took that away from me, like that really bothered me, like when I was playing the remake. Not to say that it like really hurts the game in any sort of crazy way, but I don't know, that's just like one of
that's interesting though, because that's the first. I haven't played it yet, but that's an interesting criticism that I haven't heard yet. But you are right, Vin, that one of my biggest memories of that game is like they have the opening cutscene and then boom, there's like a tanker, there's fire, and you're surrounded by zombies and you have to make your way to the police station. Like I do remember that scene. I do remember that scene.
Yeah, that is in the game, and that is like the opening, but it goes from that to being in the police station like really quick. That like you're not going through the back alleys, like going through the gun store. Like there's not all of that, and it sort of rushes you to get to the police station, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I guess, because it gets you to the actions and the puzzles and all that sort of stuff. But it feels like it's just trying to shove you into a confined space, so it can, like, the developers can just like reuse a lot of the stuff, I guess.
Right.
I guess I would disagree, and because they do offer opportunities in the middle of the game, unlike the original, where they do take you more into an open space. And when you go with Claire, you're going to be in an even more open of a space that maybe I feel like your opinion might change after that, because you do still feel that bigness of like, this is a real place and this is really infected by a bunch of zombies.
Yeah, in terms of like the mid game, like from like after in the police station afterwards, like it ramps up and the game does get good. It's more about like the like when you like the nostalgia which I had when I was playing the game. Like I was remembering all the things, so I'm playing, and if they had that like the same opening of going through the gun store, I think that would have really like punched like right in the heartstrings, And I know they bring that stuff in later, and that's cool that it's there and all that sort of stuff. But just for like your first opening sort of perception of the game, like I think that was really important to have that punch, and it just didn't have it for me, sort of thing. But not to say that the game is bad. Like it's an amazing game. Like everyone should play it.
We're nitpicking.
Yeah, we're nitpicking. Like you can eat at the edges, sort of thing. Like I didn't think they could make a Resident Evil 2 remake and do it any justice, really. Like I was super cynical about it. I was like, yeah, no way that's going to be good. And then the reviews came in, I was like, okay. Like the way that they've changed certain things is interesting. So like the zombies are super hard to kill, so they take like 6 shots in the face to kill. Like they're ridiculously difficult to take down, and they sort of add to that same sort of frantic menace which the original had, because you couldn't aim like in the head really in the original. You just had to hope that the bullet hit them there and took them out, sort of thing. So there was
and I think the other element they add so great in that too with the zombie is that you have to be extremely precise.
Oh, yeah.
Like a headshot needs to be like on the forehead. It cannot be like by the jaw, because then the jaw will drop instead. And I think what they ultimately did, which this is what I want Resident Evil to be like for another future game. Obviously build upon it a little bit more, but to put the fear back into a zombie again, I never thought they would ever be able to do. And I was just so surprised that they were able to do that to me once again.
No, it's a really, really great game. I would say everyone should definitely pick it up. I'd pick this thing up for full price if it was there in front of me, yeah, I've just got only good things to say about it. It does, like I said, it does have some of the baggage of the like the original, like the weird like Ada in heels thing, and just like the really corny dialogue and all that sort of stuff. But if you can sort of get past that, then it's not, it's not so bad. But yeah, I mean, it's weird, like when you're picking up fucking herbs and stuff. It's like what
just wave it, just wave that shit away. It's
right, just you're mixing plants together in the police station, like what you grinding them together, like what the fuck are you doing? Right. Sort of thing. And, like you've got to let that stuff go, because if you do, then you can enjoy it for what it is. But yeah, great game. I recommend it to everyone. It's especially if you played the original. But like I said, that opening sort of stung me a little bit. But I know that stuff comes back later. But I don't know. It's just the opening is really important to me, sort of thing, and setting the tone and the scale. And it just wasn't quite there for that. And I wish that they would have left it in.
Fair enough.
Sort of thing. So, but yeah.
Once you really finish the game, I would love to talk to you about it. Because I have one big criticism of the game, which is obviously the biggest one. I'm not going to talk about it, but I would love to talk to you about it.
No, sounds good. Yeah, I'm definitely up for that conversation. All right, cool. So moving on, we should talk about our topic. So Evan, do you want to kick us off with this?
I think actually I'll pass this off to Mitch, because Mitch, this was your idea. So
yes.
Do you want to start us off with the topic of the show?
So I you can check my stuff out on Freeze Frame Rate, and the reason why I bring this up is because I did a video
my God, what
about
a shameless.
I know, shill,
what
like plugs on this guy. Comes on here and he's talking shit. No.
Sorry, I did a video because Cuphead ended up partnering with Netflix to make a TV show. So I kind of broke down the aspects of that, but it really got me to think, because also The Witcher has a TV show coming out on Netflix. And then also Castlevania has a show on Netflix. And then it also has obviously been video game movies that have come out. Sony's talked about how they're making their own studio to make their own properties into movies and TV shows. And so it just got me thinking of like, what property has not been touched yet that we would like, that would make a great TV show, or that would make a great movie. And when I posed the question to you, you get a little more specific in regards to like, is it a high budget movie, a low budget movie, high budget TV show, like an HBO show, or is it going to be like a network television show? Like, I don't know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if that's a great example, but it's what came to mind. So I'm just going to throw it to Vin right away. What would you want to be adapted?
Yeah, I mean, this flips between like two things, and I'm probably gonna I know I'm gonna get like people calling me a shill or whatever, but I can't help, and the whole time that we were working on this game, I couldn't help but think like this would probably make a really good TV series, and that's Watch Dogs. Like, I know like the games are sort of averagely sort of received, but if that was like a crime series on Netflix or something, I think that would work really, really well. Like I'm not going to dive into this one too much. Like, I'll flip over to another thing that I've got listed out. But I just think like this would have made like a really good sort of series, and how they build up like certain characters and how they get different like hacking abilities and all that sort of stuff, and taking down the man or whatever, like all this crazy stuff that they could have.
Or like using tech in interesting ways.
Right. I mean, we've had hacker shows. I mean, we've had hacker shows before where they're just like,
Mr. Robot.
Right, Mr. Robot is like, they're all in like a hacker space or whatever, and they're all like hacking into the mainframe of like the CEO also. But what if it was like a bit more open than that, and like actually like the Watch Dogs games where like they've literally just got a phone and they're like figuring stuff out, and they're able to turn off street lights and there's car crashes in the street and stuff, and if there's in a chase, like in a movie chase or whatever, and cars are going through the streets and they pull up the barriers or whatever and it crashes, like you don't see any, like it's not that sort of immediate hackery sort of stuff which you see in Mr. Robot and all that. I mean, it's super interesting and really thought inducing and stuff, but it's not as like action oriented. And the whole time we were working on it, I just thought this would be awesome if it was a TV show. I probably prefer the TV show than the game. I hope no one at work is listening to this, but I would. Like, I would prefer that. But yeah, I mean, that's one of them that I listed. But the main one which I wanted to talk about was actually The Last of Us. I think that's a big given. A lot of people want to see this as a movie at least, but I think it would be really easy to be done as a series rather than a movie. I think I think games like Uncharted would serve better as a movie, but I think The Last of Us could be really well done and really paced out really well if it was a series.
I think they're already working on Uncharted movie, aren't they?
I believe so, yeah. And I think that would serve well as a as sort of like a standalone movie, so it's only like a few hours long sort of thing. It works really well for that. But I don't know, I think like the reason why I like The Last of Us is because it wasn't as action orientated and it wasn't just like pow 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 like all the way through. It was you had to think about it a little bit more, and it was a bit more soul in its messaging and stuff like that. So that's why I think it would be a bit better for like a series. And I think that would be the main one which I would vote for in that respect.
If The Last of Us was a TV series, do you think that the sort of the vibrant colors of the world and nature taking over would be enough, and like the clickers and all that would be enough to distinguish it from something like Walking Dead?
Probably not. And I do agree with that. I think it would definitely have them challenges where it was trying to change stuff enough to like be different, because the problem with like any post-apocalyptic sort of series, and that was the ultimate problem with The Walking Dead eventually, was that they step away from what the virus is and then go more towards about human nature and how they would try and survive and rebuild with each other rather than the actual virus itself. Like that's the biggest problem with The Walking Dead right now. It's just humans fighting humans with zombies on the edges, like getting killed as cannon fodder. Right. And that is a problem that they would have with The Last of Us. And I think if they did a series, like I would hope that they would focus just on like only a few characters and not have like this surviving colony group or whatever that have got all this like bullshit drama in between. Like it would be a bit more focused in that respect. But I think the problem is like trying to expand it to a wider audience. And it's going to always happen when it comes to these sort of shows, is that they are always going to make it so it's, you know, ready for season 2 or it's ready for season 3. So they're just trying to make it bigger and better and bigger and better. So if they did do this, then I would prefer if it was just like Band of Brothers sort of thing. Like it's one season is done and it's finished until it's all at the end. So yeah, I mean, The Last of Us it's a great game. I think it would make an amazing series. I don't know if it would make a great movie. Like I just don't know how they would sort of arc that all the way through and go to
like within a 2-hour time frame. Yeah, that's a bit
exactly. Yeah, it'd be difficult. Yeah. But I'd be super interested to see that. But yeah, that would be my pick.
All right.
So who's next? Who's next on the list? We should go with Burkhoff. What is your pick, good sir?
Well, I wasn't ready for it, but I'll go ahead and
you sure? Here. I can go to someone else. All right.
No. So is everybody here familiar with the Behemoth?
Yeah, the Castle Crashers and yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Alien Hominid, Castle Crashers, Battle Block Theater, Pit People.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Okay. So I don't know that necessarily one of those games in particular would translate well to a series, although I do think Battle Block Theater was awesome, and that would probably work well for like a cartoon series, multiple episodes. But I would love to see somebody do something in that style and in their world. Because like Battle Block Theater and Pit People, I guess it takes place in the same universe, and those games are actually connected. But just the art style, the voices, everything about those games lends itself to this being like a really wacky, crazy cartoon series that would, I think, do really well. And Mitch bringing up Cuphead and just talking about like the art style and how those games were made got me thinking like, well, I would love to see a cartoon series instead of, you know, just another TV show or movie.
That's a good point. Something I don't consider, like what I didn't consider when this topic sort of came up, like I didn't really think about like the sort of aspects for like cartoon games and anime.
Yeah, I didn't think about that
like
as well, so that but I'm glad that you brought this up. Yeah, it's kind of out of left field.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would kind of be my pick. I've put, I think, well over 40 hours into Battle Block.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the few games that my wife and I have been able to sit down and play together. Really fun game. Like I said, it has those levels and like chapters in the story that could lend itself to like episodes if you wanted to use that as a direct sort of direct inspiration for a conversion to another.
I'm surprised you didn't say Skyrim. Skyrim, the TV show.
Now, see, all right, so Bethesda games in particular and the Elder Scrolls series, those games are best enjoyed when it's your character and you're living in the world. I don't want to see anybody else like come up with somebody else and do, shows on other characters that I don't give a shit about. Like I make my own character, I live in that world. That's the best thing about those games. I don't think that
Well, what
series
if you
could
did
translate to a TV show or movie.
No, it's okay. I was gonna say, what if you did each season was a new character in the world of Skyrim? I think that would be an interesting way to attack it, because you do create your own character. So if they did a different person they would follow each season, that might be something.
Yeah, like a different race or a different like area, or
and then somehow maybe they intertwine in the end somewhere.
Or in series 1, the viewings absolutely bomb and they never touch it again, so you're stuck with the lizard story forever.
I think it depends on who writes it.
Good point. Yeah,
because I didn't think that Castlevania could work as an animated series or a television series, and Warren Ellis just took it to a whole nother level. So, I mean, if you got somebody like, a Grant Morrison or a Warren Ellis, or I'm going to throw out Matthew Rosenberg, just all comic book guys, or trying to think, he wrote Uncanny Avengers. I'm blanking on his name. But yeah, somebody like that could actually take a universe like the Elder Scrolls or Tamriel and say like, well, this is how I would do it, and come up with an interesting concept. It might work.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you bring up like where it fits sort of thing, because like sometimes games don't fit for that sort of adaptation, even though they try and pursue it. Like I remember, I mean, Evan's probably going to join me on this one, but I remember when they announced that they acquired, like Sony acquired like the movie rights, or like someone had acquired the movie rights for the Shadow of the Colossus. And I remember I just thought about that for like 3 days, just like how would that work? Like how bad would that movie be? Like you'd have to put in dialogue, there'd be secondary characters, there'd just be all this stuff that would have to clog it up almost. And it's just like, like it just wouldn't, like as a fan of the game, like I'd probably be in the streets protesting, and I'm sure Evan would be right next to me, like, no, don't do it, sort of thing. But it's really interesting that some games just don't. I just
that could turn into a really interesting animated movie. Like if they kept with the source material and not did like extra side characters and stuff, as like, because it's so quiet, there's like quiet sections in it. I think it could work as an animated,
a Ghibli film.
I think it could work in that aspect. I just don't think a live action one it would work out.
As much as I'd like to see some of those colossi like on the big screen or whatever you want to call it, I don't think it would work either. Although with Skyrim, what you could do is the first episode, the main character goes to a bar and gets fucking shit-faced drunk, and then the rest of the season he has to figure out like what happened the night after. You know what I mean?
See, I would watch that. You
could stretch that out to like 7-8 episodes, right?
You could totally do that as well. Like they all get trashed on the first episode, and it's just like he's going through like Tamriel, like trying to figure out like how the hell what happened, and it's just
there's a goat in there somewhere. I think
right. I
remember.
So good.
Can we go on a side tangent here? Because I did play that side quest after.
Oh, let me know. Like, did you like it?
So you had never.
I didn't
come in.
I had never played it. I didn't realize that. So in Skyrim, there's all these different Daedric weapons that you can get, and they all have their own side quests associated with them. I didn't realize that was a Daedric weapon quest.
Neither did I. I didn't know that either.
But yeah, I was playing it, and my wife was watching me, and I was explaining to her. I was like, "Yeah, they just talked about this on, Coffee and Beer podcast, and I've never done this in 300 plus hours of playing this game." And I got to the part where you find the guy in the field whose goat you stole, and my wife is like, "That is so sad." And I was like, I feel pretty bad for this guy too. Like I don't even know who he is. He's just some random
cabbage guy.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my
That's
No,
funny.
no, it was cool. I mean, it's such a great little. I mean, it's probably not even that great. Like if I went back and played it, like it probably won't be as fun as I remember it. But it's just so memorable, you know. Like I don't think I'll ever forget. But yeah, totally. Like if that was a TV series, I would watch all 8 episodes for sure, like Stranger Things style, but
Right,
just like
right.
working backwards. That'd be great. It'd be like a Tarantino movie. Can you imagine if Tarantino made that movie?
There you go.
That'd be so good.
Talking about good writers, yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So we should move on. Evan, what is your pick, sir?
All right, so I'm a horror movie fan. I think my favorite 3 films from last year were Annihilation, Hereditary, and Suspiria, in that order.
Sorry,
there was a sigh
I
in
did
there
not
somewhere.
like Hereditary.
Oh, Hereditary is fucking amazing.
I would have chose It Chapter 1 instead.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. It was a great movie.
It was amazing.
I wouldn't call it amazing. I think it's good, but it's a bit cheesy. Well, okay.
I think that came off the back of like Stranger Things and stuff, though.
Oh, totally. Yeah, kids riding around their bikes.
One of the characters is from Stranger Things.
Right. Oh yeah, it totally is, isn't he? But anyway, so I like horror movies. I watched like 2.5 horror movies today. So when this was proposed, I'm like, well, what movie would I, or what game would I like to see? And I think a good short series, and I'm talking like proper like British series, like 3 episode type of thing, 3-4 episode, would be Dead Space.
Ooh, that is a fucking great pick.
That's a good choice.
Yeah,
and it'd be like, would it be like the 1 hour and a half style per episode?
Yeah, like Sherlock.
Exactly, right? Because there's a lot of lore there. So basically, I think most people know it's like the year is like 22,500 or some shit, where there's these giant ships that crack planets to gain materials. And
that's a great fucking pick.
You
man.
Play an engineer,
that?
That comes across this kind of monolith that turns people into these things called necromorphs. And there's an overarching story. Like, I know a lot of people fell off the series because 3 was kind of hounded a bit, but I quite liked it. The ending, I'm not too sure about exactly where the necromorphs come from. They explain it. Not exactly happy about that, but if you're talking about like your Alien, your Event Horizon, this kind of corridor science fiction horror type of stuff with a bit of intrigue about what is the monolith, where does it come from, where do these creatures come from, that type of thing. This kind of guy, this engineer that gets kind of roped into being like, I guess, the hero of the story, the main character trying to find out what's happening. And the whole idea of like where the game came up with the strategic dismemberment, where like, you know, he's slowly figuring out like, you know, you don't hit center mass, you know, shoot it in the leg or whatever. And he's got his powers and stuff. And I just think it would make for like a very short horror series where there's this overarching story of the mystery of this monolith that kind of alters your genetic code and turns you in these necromorphs and where that came from. And you follow this character who, you know, gets someone on the intercom. It's like, hey, I'm in the fucking sick bay. I'm walled off. Can you meet me here? And he's got to get through like aliens to get there. And then he meets a couple characters, and then they're trying to find out what's happening with these necromorphs, and all this crazy shit happens. The ship crashes on their planet, and whatever. I think there's a huge room for like a very short series. I don't think it would work for a singular movie, but like, you know, you have all these corridor horror movies. You got Pandorum, maybe a bit of Gravity with Sandra Bullock, because there's a couple parts in this game where you're flying through like open space to get to spaces, so you could get a bit of that. Like he's on limited air and a bit of tension there, and so I think it would totally work for a series.
Can I interject right now and both
please
maybe ruin your pick and also make your day?
Please, I beg you.
Dead Space Downfall. It's an animated movie that was released in 2008.
God damn it!
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I knew they did comics. I did not know they actually did. Is it any good? Have you seen it?
I have not seen it, so I don't know if it's any good. But
Right, it can't be that good because no one.
Oh,
can
there you
remember
go.
it,
So
Oh no, Burkoff. Now that you say that, I do want to see this, but maybe also on top of that, I would love to see a live action part of that because I'm a huge Alien fan, like Event Horizon, Pandorum,
with
anything that's
practical
like
effects.
with practical effects. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anything that's like corridor horror where they use tight spaces, shadows, and just like disgusting creatures and people just trying to like survive. That like all that type of stuff I love. So I think that Dead Space would be a great addition to that.
There is a weird conversation to be had there though. Like some games or some movies, like adaptations and stuff, where they do anime adaptations don't fit the genre a lot of the time. So like something like a Dead Space, like seeing like an animated movie for a Dead Space game, that'd be like the last medium I would choose,
Right.
you know. But
I'm still
I would totally dig a live action.
Yeah, I'm intrigued though, Berghoff. I did not know that existed. I'm definitely going to seek it out and watch it because Dead Space is one of those games that is, or at least the entire trilogy is near and dear to my heart, and I love that shit. I love stuff.
God, they need to bring that stuff back. Like in any respect, like
Please.
if they did a remaster, if they did a remake, if they continued it on, did a reboot, like anything. Christ, like of all the people to have that franchise is EA. Like they just don't do remakes or remasters, I guess. So
they don't.
Right.
Like if they remade it the way they remade Resident Evil 2, holy cow, people would lose their shit. Especially with because honestly, those creatures kind of are similar to how they created the zombies in Resident Evil 2. So I think it could be done really, really well.
Yeah, and a lot of them games are just atmosphere, you know, and like the way look and how stuff moves. Can you imagine that? And like current gen or next gen get graphic. Oh man, that'd be amazing.
I'd love to see that. But yeah, that's something that I would love to see on as a series.
Yeah, no, that would be an amazing thing to see. And you're right. Like the more I think about it, like if that was a full series, like 8 to 10 episodes, I'd sort of ruin it almost. Like I don't know how they could do that without introducing like a bunch of different characters. But as a short series, like you said, like a few episodes, like a Sherlock series where it's 3 episodes of 1 hour 45 minutes or something each, that'd be dope. Like I'd watch the hell out of that. That'd be really cool. That is a great pick though, man. Well played. All right, cool. So moving on to our last and final, don't disappoint us, Mr. Mitch. What's your pick?
Burkoff, you're gonna love me for this one.
All right.
It's not Skyrim, is it?
No, it's not Skyrim. Actually, I know it's already been made into movies and shows and things like that, but I don't think it's been done proper. This one is a shout out. It's not my pick. Shout out would be a Final Fantasy of some kind.
Oh, dude,
in an actual really well, like, I mean, obviously they made Advent Children, but man, it just shows the potential you could do with that series.
Right. They did Spirits Within. They did an animated series. All of them were horrible.
Yeah, I
think the pressure of that series is just too big. Like they just can't handle it, you know.
Yeah, maybe, and they could help expand on like something like 15, where I liked the story of 15, but I know a lot of people didn't. But if they took more time to explain it, I bet people would actually appreciate that story a lot more. So that's
they had the 15 movie, and that was just, even that by itself was confusing as hell.
Yeah, and then they had like the TV show for like 10 episode series that was 5 minutes each. That really didn't make much sense. But I think if they really like dove into one, I think they could do a really good job with one.
Which, all right, side question, like which Final Fantasy would you pick for that? And not just because your favorite Final Fantasy, I mean, like what would cater the best to a sort of series or a movie?
Cough, just to make Vin happy.
Thank you, sir. I've got butterflies in my stomach. I feel so much better.
I would do not. Honestly, I think 15 has something more than what people are giving it credit for. I think it has an appeal that if they dive in, the great thing about doing, and I think it would be a TV series if they were going to do it, because I think there's so much there that they can dive into that I think then people might love 15 more than what it was. Because there's a lot there in 15 that if they had a TV show to dive into it, I think they could do it justice.
I think there is a lot to 15, but it's just unfortunate. Like a lot of it is just pure garbage. So it's. Sorry, I really don't like Final Fantasy 15.
I know.
It's like the worst one of the series.
I feel like six. I feel like 6 doesn't get enough love.
Amen, brother.
Because they did that horrible mobile port, and nobody wants to play that.
Yeah, that shit sucks.
But it's got a great story. It's got a huge cast of characters.
It's got the turn where like you think the bad guy is like the guy who's controlling the empire, but it's someone else.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. It does have a little bit of a twist.
The other one, I think you would like, Burkoff. I think they could do 8. 8 could be done pretty well, because then you could do an episode of like them doing missions for the school.
We don't need that. People just need to watch my playthrough of it and listen to my.
All right, I'm gonna plant a seed. I'm gonna plant a seed right now, and everyone's gonna like the idea, if you like it or not. It'll grow, and like later on, you'll be like, yeah, that would be a good idea. Final Fantasy 9, Studio Ghibli.
Oh, totally.
Think about that.
I don't know the story of 9, so I can't say anything about it.
Then you deserve to be living outside.
Wait, is 9 the one where he has a tail? Is that the one that's 9?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I never finished it. I think I got through the beginning and I had to stop.
Oh, dude, you got to get through it.
Is there a ban button on this podcast? Can we just kick this guy off? Like, how do you?
I mean, I have it on PS4. I plan to get back to it eventually. I need to get through all my other stuff first.
It's got a good story.
It's a great. I'm currently replaying it at the moment, and it's such a. Yeah, it's still great. Like I'm playing it on the PS1 Classic because I hacked it. I own that game like 20 times. Get off me.
Right.
Yeah, I'm replaying it at the minute. I'm on disc 3. Love it. Still just as good, and it still looks amazing considering it's a PS1 game. But yeah, anyway, like back to the topic. So
my legit pick is gonna be
okay.
I can't believe I got a huge conversation out of that one. But my legit pick is Mass Effect. I think they could do.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a solid pick.
I mean, you think about it; they got great, solid characters already in the game, but I think they could flesh out even more. I think the exploring of worlds and the way they just done Star Trek Discovery and the way that's been getting a lot of great appeal. And then the way that Netflix did Lost in Space. I think they could do a TV show really well with Mass Effect and really grow. Yeah. And I mean, could it be the same story? Maybe. Could it be a different story? Sure. I think it's more appealing to have a Commander Shepard, so I think that has to be a must.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a longer adventure leading to the end, and maybe the end is different because it'll satisfy people.
Yeah, but the controversy, like the pure, can you imagine like the people biting at the bit, fighting over each other? Is it going to be the female Shepard or the male Shepard?
Like maybe they'll do an Andromeda and say that they're twins and that you follow both Shepards.
Fair play. Yeah, there you go.
Well, if they did, if they followed in the footsteps of like Star Trek Discovery, they could do 2 parallel universes and like switch between the Shepards.
It just doesn't. That doesn't feel Mass Effect-y to me. I don't know if they could pull that off in that.
I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think about
what would this be though.
Yeah.
Like, would it be a movie? Would it be a series?
Oh no, it would be a series. Okay. It has to be. There's no way you could do a Mass Effect movie justice. It would have to be at least a trilogy of movies.
Mitch, look at something like Cowboy Bebop, where each episode they're recruiting like a new character, and then like in that episode you're seeing their backstory. Like each episode, Shepard is like building his team, and like you get Garrus and like all these people like one episode at a time, and then once the party's gathered at the midpoint of the series, then as a team, they move on to like the main story type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and what they do great with each Mass Effect game is they find a way to change it up. Like an example with 2 having your ship explode, you got to find new people to bring into your crew. So I think they can find clever ways to, kind of not get rid of all the crew, but maybe get rid of certain characters and then bring in new characters back in another season. So I think
they could totally
you definitely sell
right, and they could totally do like halfway through the series the episode that has nothing to do with the main plot line, but like a wacky episode on the Citadel, right? Some ridiculous episode where like you're introduced to a bit more of the lore, the other creatures that might not necessarily have appeared in other episodes, and then move on to the the main story after that episode type of thing. There's tons of stuff there. I think.
Episode where Joker goes on a date with
I mean,
Edie.
if it's not like a 8 to 12 episode series, I could see it being similar to a Sherlock where it's maybe just 3 episodes, 1 to 2 hours each. I think that could be pulled off maybe better.
Yeah, no, I mean, if they went to like a different planet like every now and then and mix it up enough, there's the roster is high enough, like of people that are in the story and stuff like that are introduced and talked about. Yeah, that could totally work. Like the more I think about it, like the more it sort of makes sense.
I'd watch that.
How would you deal with the Paragon Renegade aspect of the game?
I would toss it out the window.
I would toss it out the window. Yeah, to be honest.
Straight line character, wouldn't it?
I mean, you could do something clever with it if you really wanted to. If it was on Netflix, you know, they did that whole thing where you could interact with the television show. If they really wanted you to do that, they could try that, but I don't know if they would go for it.
Yeah, you'd have to film it like 3 times though.
Basically, yeah. And like you'd have to film it where one character dies and then one character is still in it. Like, I guess for an actor, that's big money because you're never like you're always going to be in an episode.
Right. Yeah, shit on one series that takes 10 years to make.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
But I would throw it away.
I feel like that's the same hurdle though with the fem shep versus male shep though, because it's like people that play the game, like they have their preference, right, and then they also have like whether or not they're going to play as Paragon or Renegade.
What I think they could solve that shepherd thing if they're not going to do 2 shepherds automatically. They could do one being the shepherds, like they could do a female shepherd, but then maybe have another male character added to the cast that is kind of like the throwback to male shepherd.
Okay,
that they add to the crew, or it's the opposite. They have a male shepherd and then they add a female character that is like a throwback to a female shepherd.
Oh, this is easy. What they would do is they would have a female and male crew member. One is good and the other one is bad, but they're the love interest of the story at the same time. So it's just like all this like crazy tension all the way through the story. That's literally what they would do.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do that.
Then you get the good and evil thing as well.
Yeah, or you could do at the end of one season, the male shepherd dies, and then you find out like there's another clone of a female shepherd version, and then she comes out in season 2.
Or
nice,
like the Judge Dredd kind of remake or reboot called Dredd. Shepard never takes the mask off, and you never know what gender they are. And it just as the Batman voice.
He's always in the
bodysuit.
Just as the
Batman voice.
He's always in the
bodysuit. In the shower.
Where are they keeping the drugs?
Even in the lovemaking shower sequence, he's in full body gear.
Man. Yeah. Or it's like it's hidden. You never know what gender.
Yeah, it's all about who's doing the thrusting. Like you never know.
All right. On that note.
But the question I would pose to you all really quick before we get off this topic would be, who would you want to play as Commander Shepard if it was, you pick a gender and then you pick a person. How about that? I don't want to exclude a gender in this case.
That is a good question.
I'm trying to think of what her name is. She was in Game of Thrones. I can't remember what her character was either.
This doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help at all.
What did she do? Did she die? Did she live?
That doesn't narrow it down either.
No, she was all right. So she was married to Renly Baratheon at first, and then he died, and then she married Joffrey. Natalie Dormer.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Is that her name?
The sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's as much as I can narrow it down as well. The redhead, the one that plays Phoenix in the new X-Men movie. Also,
no. That's
not Sophie Turner.
Yeah. Natalie Dormer. That is her name. I would have her play Femship.
I don't know if she has enough charisma to hold that role.
Savage.
She's like a nice side.
She
you
totally
think
does.
so? I've never seen her in anything but Game of Thrones.
It's called acting, Evan. It's called acting.
She's not my Shep. I'll tell you that much.
Dude, you're already starting the trend. Not my Shep on Twitter.
Yeah, hashtag
not my Fenship. Yeah. All right. Well.
What would you do, Evan? Who's your Shep?
Oh man, I don't know enough actors' names. Ewan McGregor. I don't know.
That's not actually a bad choice.
He killed the younglings. That's a good bit of
He killed the Krogan.
Exactly. Exact same line delivery. Yep. Yeah. Just get the model that was scanned for Mass Effect. Just have him do it and hope he's a good actor, for better or for worse.
Was that a scan?
No, he's
face?
he's totally he's a
the,
model.
I'll look this up really quick. Who's the
voice actor? I don't know, but
just
the guy that's
Shepard?
on the cover of the games is a model. Yeah, for better or for worse, fuck it. Oh, dub his terrible lines. That's him, right? That's him. That's his fucking face.
Actually, the voice actor that plays Commander Shepard is actually I would pick him. Actually, he looks like a leading man.
Yeah, it is pretty iconic.
All right,
I'm with you. I'll go with that one. And also because the voice is so iconic, so I think that might actually get people to be like, "This is cool. This would be interesting." His name is Mark Meer, Meer.
That Paul guy. What a last name.
Brewery.
I'd just have Jack Black do it, just like being crazy and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be great. Fat.
to
Fat
sort
and
of bring
everything,
it,
just like in his beard hanging out the helmet. Like, is it Femship? Is it
to sort of bring it full
it's
circle to
like
the conversation that Evan and I were having before the whole podcast started. If you Google Samuel L. Shepard, you'll be pleasantly surprised. There was somebody that recreated Samuel L. Jackson in Mass Effect, so it's possible that Samuel L. Jackson really could play.
I just saw the image.
All right,
is amazing.
We should wrap this up.
On the note of Samuel L. Jackson,
let us know your Shep in the comments below.
Yeah, who is your Shepherd? Yeah, please let us know. Use hashtags and all that sort of stuff so we can find it and enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed Jack Black and Samuel Shepard in Helmet. I guess.
God, they need to pay me if they're gonna do this. They need to bring me in.
Could you even imagine?
I would be stoked if this happened.
Mass Effect, the comedy series, HBO. You can see it now. Anyway, yeah, we should wrap this up. Anyway, I want to say a massive thank you to half of the Beerumverate for joining us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Of course.
And if you want to find them, Berkoff, where can people find you?
Twitter, Sifted, YouTube. Just search Berkoff. You'll find me.
Right, and you'll probably find him not sober most of the time in all his videos because that's the way it normally goes, right?
This is true. Yeah, drunk play is all the way.
For the win. How about you, Mitch? Where can people find you?
Twitter, Mitch Secor. Channel is Freeze Frame Rate on YouTube. Break down a bunch of video game stuff. And then I am Mitch on Sifted.
Sweet. How about you, Mr. Piotrowski? Where can people find you?
You can find me at the Standuter. Just
how many beers have you had?
Fuck it. It's 2:44 a.m. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. Vin, where can people find you?
You're just gonna drop it.
Doesn't matter.
Evan cannot be found. You can find me at Hillthought Games on Twitter. You can find me. I make little indie games, and I also do a bit of concept art, so you can follow some of that stuff if you're into it. You can also find the podcast at Coffee Beer Cast on Twitter. You can follow us there because we still haven't properly populated the internet with all our episodes. So yeah, we'll be doing that soon. Please let us know where you listen to podcast services, and we shall try and get on there as well because we're still setting up shop, as it were. So we're only on episode 4 at this point, but we'll get there soon and we'll start letting everyone know. So if you want to keep up to date with us, where we're actually going and all that sort of good stuff, then please follow us on Twitter at Coffee Beer Cast, as said before. But from everyone here, massive thank you for joining us and thank you for listening. So we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Peace.
I'm going to Disney World.
What is it with the Disney? Are you actually going to Disney World? Is that what's happening?
No, I'm not going to Disney World. I have to go to work.